going on, everyone? Episode 72 of VYPE Locker Talk Live. I am your host, Wac. Joined alongside me today are Jackson and let her adjust the screen there, Shana. There she is. How you guys doing? Jackson, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing good. It's been a busy week. Had some exciting games last week, and then gonna have some more exciting games this week. As for most schools, district play starts in some of these bigger districts. So very exciting week.
Yeah, a very exciting news indeed. And we didn't have a show on Monday, obviously. Labor Day. We decided to take the day off, but we'll get into some of that action from last week. Today. But before we do that, Shayna, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Just excited, like Jackson said, to see some of these district games. We have some big ones happening, and I'm excited to see what the athletes have, what they've learned through the off season, summer play, and preseason play. See what they bring into district.
Yeah, some district games are starting indeed. A couple, I know Westlake, their district is starting, tonight actually. So, but let's talk about last week's games. We didn't get to talk about it on Monday. So, what were some of those games that maybe were really surprising? Maybe a little close, maybe a blowout. I know Tascasita and Katy was a really good game out there, and in Houston. But Jackson, let's come to you first. What were some of those games out there that were surprising, shocking, whatever to you?
Yeah, some of the games that were surprising and shocking to me, I was shocked at the Parish Episcopal game. Parish Episcopal went out and beat Aledo. Lots of people thought that was kind of a blowout, but that Parish Episcopal team is really good. They came down to Houston, play Episcopal, who had a couple transfer guys come from public school, and they played them really tight, 24-17 game, only a touchdown game. Was very excited to see that for Episcopal as they're primed to have a big year. That was a game that was really close. The Atascocita-Katy game, Atascocita was in that game, and they had their opportunity with about a minute and 30 seconds left to try to come back and tie that game back up. But that was a really great game overall. It was two really good teams that I expect to have really big years and potentially win both their districts, depending on how things play out. So those are some of the games that really caught my eye.
Shayna, how about you? Any games in the DFW area that really stood out to you?
There are two that continually come to mind as I was reflecting on last week's play was Lancaster upsetting South Oak Cliff. I don't think anybody saw that coming in Lancaster, and we're seeing that they are really making strides in the talent that they put on the field. And then the other one is Aledo's 0-2 start. We're talking about Titletown here, and they're going to start the season 0-2. I think people expected Geyer to win, but Geyer won something crazy like 44-14, something that you don't expect to see coming from Aledo. We knew that it was going to be a rebuilding season. I think we didn't realize quite how much rebuilding they had to do.
Jackson, you have one more you want to mention, and I think there's a good reason why. What's that game you want to mention?
Yeah, I was out at the Thursday night showdown game last week, Crosby versus Fort Bend Marshall. We had Fort Bend Marshall ranked as number one in 5A for the Houston area, and they got beat in overtime by a Crosby team that was missing 8 key players, and that Crosby team is looking really good. Obviously, they had the tough week 1 loss to CE King, a big 6A program, but Crosby is definitely putting something together. They've got the senior quarterback Kyron Miles coming back. I really liked what I saw from him, and I really liked what I saw from a lot of those defensive players on Crosby. Once they get to full strength, their team's going to be really good. I expect them to make some noise in that new district they've got this year. But, yeah, I was really excited about that game, really fun game. And if you haven't seen any highlights on it, go to our YouTube and check out Week 17, Episode 2.
That's right. Our new feature, Week 17. Each week we take a look at a team we feel has championship potential, and we're following them through that week. So Week 2 featured Crosby High School, and Week 1 was, of course, the Woodlands. Week 3 is going to be Liberty Hill High School. I'll be there tomorrow filming that. So be on the lookout for that next Wednesday. And then, of course, I think in my area, I think the game that everyone was most tuned into was Steele versus Lake Travis. Could a San Antonio 6A Power finally take down an Austin Power? And it did happen. Of course, Bo Edmondson did not play again. I think it's important to point out. But I think, you got to give the credit to Steele. When it mattered most, Lake Travis was going for that tie. Still, they stood up and they got that game-winning interception. So you can't discredit what Steele did. And now they turn around and they play Hutto this week. And I'm really high on Hutto. I really like what I've seen from Hutto so far this year. They beat San Marcos in week 1 pretty convincingly. Turn around and go and beat the slot team that is Liberty Hill. I mean, Liberty Hill put up 500 yards of rushing and still lost. That's how Hutto had a really good game. So they'll turn around. They'll be playing Steele. I think Steele is coming down to Hutto, if I'm not mistaken. So cannot wait for that one. That one is a game to watch. We are, by the way, having a little streaming issues. Maybe Ashton's bad luck. Jackson, you'll know there came my way. So, if it is buffering, whatever, give it a second and we'll come back. So we do apologize about that. But with that being said, I think for me it had to be Steele and Lake Travis last week as kind of the game. Jackson, you were a little bit bold last week and you picked Westlake over Judson. And so did Josh Cook. I was a little surprised by that pick, and lo and behold, I think I was a little, came out. I was like, what are you guys doing? And Westlake really showed that. Look, I think their last hardest game is going to be 2 weeks from now when they play Lake Travis. Let's be honest, before they reach the playoffs. Westlake is looking good this year. That being said, let's turn it over now. Actually, Shana, you brought up something, a point I want to bring up here. And that's South Oak Cliff. Do we need to hit the panic button on that? I don't think so. I think they just need to find a quarterback. I think that's the biggest concern at South Oak Cliff, finding a quarterback. I think they're going to be fine once they do that. Shana, what do you think?
So I mentioned those two games because I'm going to get to both of them when we talk about things to look at for this week. I wouldn't quite say hit the panic button. I don't think it's panic worthy yet, but I mean, they're going up against a loaded DeSoto, and it's going to be I hate to put all of my eggs in one basket here, but I really think DeSoto is going to pull this off. We're going to see an 0-3 start to a reigning state champion season. So a panic, no, but this is one of the teams in Dallas that you're looking at under one of those magnifying glasses to say, what is going on with this program? This is not the team that was playing at Jerry World just a short time ago and taking home a championship.
But I think that also shows why it's important to have those, key pieces, if you will, right? Probably the most key position is quarterback. And they're trying to find that right now. So, not ready to hit the panic button on that yet. But let's go ahead and talk about this week's games. And Jackson, let's come to you. Whether it's Houston, whether it's outside of Houston, you name it. What are some of those games this week that you're really going to have your eye on?
Yeah, I think the big one in the Houston area this week is going to be North Shore Westfield. They're two teams that we have ranked in the top 3 of our rankings. They've both played really well to start off the season. I think that's going to be a big matchup. Last year, Westfield pulled off the win against North Shore in the regular season. Of course, we know North Shore took that loss, but then won the rest of the year, took the state title. So this is going to be a good rematch this year. I'm expecting it to be maybe high scoring as both offenses are rolling right now. So very interested to see that game more than the rest. I'm also excited to see Katy versus Tompkins. Both are 2-0. That's the first week of district. Tompkins has really showed their strength, showed that they've got a really good team this year. It's going to be very interesting as you'll have those two match up at the first game in district. And if you're Katy and you lose that game and Tompkins wins out, well, Tompkins wins the district. So it's going to be a very interesting game. Very excited to see those two games in the Houston area.
Shana, let's turn it over to you now. Go ahead and give me those 1 or 2 games that you've got your eye on.
So I think it's going to be big to see what happens with Aledo and Justin Northwest tonight. Justin Northwest is kind of on a roll. Yes, they have a loss to their name, but Jake Strong and the entire team has been, I mean, not to be punny, but strong. Um, they've been showing that hard work pays off, and I think an 0-2 start from Alito definitely has them fired up to say, hey, we can beat Alito. Alito is not picking up any gas this season, and we can beat them. And then the second one that I'm really interested in seeing is Parish Episcopal versus Austin LBJ. One of the things that they talked a lot about at their media day was this season, this especially non-district games, is Parish versus the UIL. And their big thing was, we want to show that we have what it takes to compete against these big time public schools. And we aren't just capped royalty. We are the real deal. We are something to pay attention to throughout the season. I'm loving it. I'm definitely on the Panthers bandwagon. So I'm very interested in those two games. Other than that, I think Geyer and Lancaster is going to be good too.
Sorry, live TV here, or live live streaming. Looking through my games here, I'm trying to see. I think talking about a small school. Let's talk about small school here in my area. Poth versus Shiner. Shiner obviously had that loss earlier in the year, but I think this is a game for Poth, right? To really see where they stand. Last year is a pretty easy victory for Shiner on their way to their undefeated season. I'm interested to see what Poth does in this game. I don't know if they'll win this game, but I'm interested to see how tough they play Shiner. That can really say a lot about what we can expect from this Poth team that's kind of always been right on that edge of making the state title game the last few years. So definitely check out that one for sure. And then, of course, I already mentioned it. Hutto taking on Steele. That is a big time game for both programs. Really going to show where they stand. I mean, Hutto is 2-0, and like I said, they're kind of one of my dark horse teams. Or a team, I think, they got a junior quarterback, so he's going to be around for a couple of seasons. And I think, a good game here by either team can go a long way when you think of, success when you come later on in the season. And then Liberty Hill and Georgetown. I mean, Liberty Hill lost to Hutto last week, but this is a good game for both. I think if I'm not mistaken, Liberty Hill 5AD2, Georgetown 5AD1. So they played last year, and believe it or not, it was a low scoring affair. 17-14, Liberty Hill won. I think this game can do a lot for both squads. It can show Liberty Hill is right on track to where they were last year. Rebounding from a loss to a quality 6A opponent last week, and on the if Georgetown wins, hey, they might be a team to look out for in 5AD1. They're in a district with College Station this year, so that's going to be a good sign for them if they come out with the victory. So that's another game to watch for me. How about this? Let's go on. I know Jackson. I know Shana mentioned it, but I know you had told me. Do you want to talk? Do you have something to add to that LBJ Dallas Parish Episcopal game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. You've already seen them taking down Alito, came down to play Episcopal in Houston, took care of business there. Then they play LBJ this week, who was in the state title game last year. And then they're playing South Oak Cliff next week. So I know we were talking about it, time to hit the panic button for South Oak Cliff, but they better not sleep on this Parish Episcopal game because they roll, like Shana said, it's them against the UIL. They're ready to show that they can compete. Definitely got the guys to do it. So it's going to be a very interesting next 2 weeks watching that Parish team, and very excited to see what they do against two of those big-time programs.
Let's move on to another question now, and that's kind of, let's call it the upset watch, right? Maybe this can be a new weekly segment, right? What team are you looking at that, should be on upset kind of alert, if you will? I know there's this question on you, so, kind of put you on the spot here, but Shana, who should be on upset alert this week?
So I am going to go out on a very, very, very thin limb right now. And I'm going to say Denton, Geyer, and Lancaster. I believe Lancaster has what I know. Lancaster has what it takes. They have the talent. They have the athleticism. And Geyer is amazing. Don't get me wrong. This is not anything to do with Denton Geyer. It's, are they going to look at, we're just facing Lancaster and under prepare? Are they preparing for a game of checkers while Lancaster is preparing for a game of chess?
Very interesting choice, Jackson. I will turn it over to you now. Who is on upset alert this week?
Yeah, I mean, I might give you two. It's two games I mentioned earlier, and they might not seem like upsets, but I feel like they would be for this reason. I feel like Westfield or North Shore should possibly be on upset alert. They lost to Westfield last year. Westfield has their number. They know that they can beat this team that returned a lot of younger players to that North Shore roster. I feel like that could be a game where you could see Westfield pull out that victory. That might not seem like much of an upset, but I mean that is the defending state champs. They're the three-time state champs in 4 years. I would say that's a pretty big win for them. Also, Tompkins playing Katy. I feel like if Tompkins can take down Katy, a lot of people are going to be surprised by that, and they're going to be looking towards Tompkins as they're primed to have a really big year. Got a lot of key pieces back from last year's team. They're getting really good quarterback play from Chris Gilbert Jr. Very interested to see that game. I think Katy could be on upset alert too, which would be the top two seeds in our VYPE Houston 6A rankings. So that's my hot take. Hopefully, it doesn't. Hopefully, one of those teams gets a dub. But those are my two upset alerts.
You know, I feel like it's kind of hard in the Austin San Antonio area this week. Like I think the one that you probably want to say would be New Braunfels versus New Braunfels Canyon, but I'm picking New Braunfels in that game, so I can't really say. Can I really say that New Braunfels is going to be on upset alert when I'm going to pick them to win? We have our weekly pick'ems, which by the way, Shane, I told you wrong earlier. You're actually behind by one game. It's me and Merle that are actually tied for the top spot. But yeah, so I, I mean, again, Poth versus Shiner. I'm probably going to pick Shiner, but could Poth be on? Let me say that one. I am going to pick Shiner to win that game for my picks of the week, but I'm going to say that Shiner is on upset or Poth's on upset alert to win that game. I think they have a really good shot. I think if everybody can come to play, that's going to be the one. I mean, you go up and down the roster from Austin San Antonio across the board for all the other games. There's really not one that's like, ooh, you know what? Here's another one. Clark and Reagan. Reagan's coming in at 0-2. They play tonight, and that's a little surprising. 0-2 for Reagan, and Clark is 2-0. So very, hot start for Clark. Reagan, that one could be an upset when you think of an 0-2 versus a 2-0. I think Reagan has the skill and the talent to win that game. So that would be my other one. So how about this now? If you're in front of a TV or if you had this magical TV, right, and this can be in your area, this could be in my area, Shayna's area, anywhere in between. If you had a magical TV that allowed you to watch any game this week out of the whole state of Texas, what game would you watch? Jackson, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think I'd still have to go North Shore Westfield. I think that's just going to be an awesome game in the Dallas area. I would definitely go Parrish and LBJ. I guess those would be my top two. I think those are going to be two highly competitive games, and I think they're just going to be fun games to watch as Texas high school football fans.
Shannon, let me pose that question to you now. If you had that magical TV that allowed you to watch any Texas high school football game, which game would that be?
I've got to go with Parrish and Austin LBJ. Whether Parrish wins or loses, we are going to see some of the biggest hearts in Texas high school football go head to head. It's going to be an all-out, leave everything on the field game, and it's definitely one to watch this week.
Put me on the spot here because do I go somewhere else? If I had to pick a game, where would I go? Do I say let's just all go together? I don't know. It's funny because I actually think if I could watch a game, it's probably going to be the one I'm actually going to already, which you can call it a cop out if you want, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to say Liberty Hill, Georgetown, because again, if you look at Liberty Hill, right, came within a 2-point conversion in 2020 of making the state championship. They lost last year in a very good game between South Oak Cliff and Liberty Hill in the championship game. So now they're coming in this year, and I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. They got two really good junior running backs, Joe Pitchford and Noah Long, who I think can carry this team all the way to the state championship game. And like I said, they have a really good game against Georgetown. Played them close last year, or they won that close game last year, I should say. And now they're coming in, and I think after last week, they've got a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouth with that loss because they were Hutto. If you go look at that score, it was a 7-point win, but Hutto was dominating that game up until the mid fourth quarter when Liberty Hill had a furious comeback. I think they were actually like a play away from tying that game. And so I'm going to say Liberty Hill and Georgetown. That's where you should be. That's where I'm actually going to be. And if I wasn't there, I'd want to be there anyways. I think that's going to be our show for today. Before we get out of here, any last games you want to mention before we go? Jackson, any last games you want to mention?
Yeah, I'll mention the games I'm going to tonight. I'm going to Oak Ridge Woodlands. First game, two really good teams. I know we saw Woodlands take a pretty hefty loss against North Shore week 1, but they came back, bounced back week 2 against Lamar. And that offense seems to be rolling with Mabry Matoyer. I think also you have Oak Ridge, who's 1-1. They Stratford really tight last week, a really good Stratford offense. And studs all over the defense. Very excited to watch that game tonight. That was potentially going to be my upset alert, but I do think the Woodlands gets it done tonight. But very competitive game, ready to watch it.
Shana, how about you? Any last games you want to mention?
I do think people should keep their eyes on Dallas Christian's game this week. They've been on a roll, just like Parish Episcopal has. They are playing First Baptist, and it's a big possibility they're going to pull off this win. And if they do, it's going to be Coach Willer's 300th win. So I think that is big for Dallas Christian and definitely something that should be watched. And then, Aledo and Justin Northwest, I'm interested. I'm not going to call it an upset alert because I think Justin Northwest is going to beat them anyway. But it would be a panic mode for Aledo.
And I'm going to give you 3, all of course in the Austin San Antonio area. Bernie and Antonian Prep play tomorrow. I'm very high on Bernie in my 5 Burning Questions article from Monday. Go check that out at VYPE.com. Posed the question, now that Austin LBJ is in 5A, is Bernie kind of that 4A team in our area that people need to pay attention to that could go and make a run? I think the answer is yes. Time will tell, of course, if they can. And then also on Friday, we have my alma mater, Pleasanton, taking on Jernton. Kind of a rivalry, if you will, that's kind of been renewed over the last few years that I'm really happy to see. Pleasanton coming in 0-2, Jernton 2-0. So excited to see that game. Can Pleasanton finally get on the win column? They played 2 tough opponents, including Bernie last week. And then finally, Uvalde taking on Poteet. I only mentioned that one because Uvalde 2-0. You got to love that kind of story. Then Poteet, my brother coaches there now. So, kind of one of those things. Or who do I root for there? So those are the 3 that if you're in that area to follow along, I think there's going to be some good games there in the area. Let's close it out how I like to close out all my shows by giving some shout outs. Shana, who are you shouting out today?
Just everybody who's getting the job done this season, whether it's a coach, a fan, a parent taking their kid to practice every day, keep doing it. It's going to pay off. These kids are going to look back they're going to be teenagers right now, but they're going to look back in 10 years and be really appreciative. So keep getting the job done. You're doing great, even on days it feels like you're not.
Very well said. Jackson, who are you shouting out?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out media members this week. We're in week 3 now. Things are going great on the VYPE standpoint, ready to go out, cover more games. Just so shout out everyone that's going out to cover games. And just also shout out my youngest brother. They won their first freshman high school football game, first high school win for him. Very excited to watch that game last night and watch him play. So shout out Peyton and shout out you all for another good episode.
And I am going to shout out, and this is funny because we actually recorded our VYPE Recruit Spotlight show just really literally right before this. And I couldn't think of anyone to shout out, so I just shouted out UT football because it's the big game against Bama. But I want to shout out, did I just lose my train of thought? I think I just lost my train. I had something good, and then I just lost it. And it was something to do with maybe I'm going to shout out my brother. How about that? Let's just shout out my brother. Coaching for the Poteet Aggies, play Uvalde this weekend. I had something good, I swear. Yeah, you like that. You like anything with the word Aggies in it, huh, Jackson? So shout out to my brother and any other, coach out there who's a brother or a wife, husband, whatever. Let's do that, man. I had something good too, and I completely botched it. So that's okay. So little happy mistakes, as we like to call them. It's gonna be our show for today. We'll be here every day, weekday at 3 o'clock for some type of show tomorrow. It's going to be the VYPE Spotlight Show, which will be myself, Jackson, and Ashton on that show tomorrow. And every Thursday at 3 o'clock, we have this VYPE Locker Talk Live where we preview the games that are happening this week. That being said, let's go ahead and get on out of here for today. Till next episode, I'm Wac, that's Jackson and Shana, and we'll see you at the games.